sure you guys are happy to be here during your lunch break today. Thank you very much for joining the GCA Media Network. We will be running through the connected driveway, which is very exciting as it's all brand new insights. So we are your GCA Media team. I'm Caitlin Cyrillis, if I haven't met you before at the event recently, but I'm the State Partnership Manager here at GUMTREE, Cars Guide and Auto Trader. James Curtis is our National Auto Lead, and Charlie, who you all know and love, is our Partnership Manager across the Indies Group. So today's agenda is very strong. We are going to be kicking off with an introduction into what the GCA Media Network actually is. Then I will be handing over to James Curtis, who will be running through the automotive trends, which will give us a deep dive into our automotive research. Charlie will then be taking the reins and going through our consumer spending trends. And then I'll be wrapping up with key driveaways and any questions or concerns you have about what we're doing. So our network is powered by intent. We have 3 consumer-facing brands: GUMTREE, Cars Guide and Auto Trader. Green, purple, orange. You will never forget those colours altogether. GUMTREE is Australia's leading C2C marketplace, whilst Cars Guide is #1 for all editorial car content, and Auto Trader is our connection into dealerships around Australia. Auto Trader actually delivers us with new car listings into Cars Guide and GUMTREE, and that is our car ecosystem alongside new and used cars. We, as a network, reach 1 in 4 Australians that are ready to consume. We manage over billions of intent signals, and we also have around 3 billion monthly listing values across the entire network. Our audience comes to us to be informed, to evaluate and compare, and to buy, creating immerse in market retail, competitor and audience targeting opportunities for our brands and partners. And we are the network where Australians come to transact. So we are not just cars and vehicles. We also have 150 plus categories that we use every single day. So that can be pets, real estate, jobs, home and garden, and caravans. And every single category on our network has different nuances into how our consumers act with them. For example, pets, we make sure that it is 100% brand safe, and we make sure that when a breeder is uploading a puppy litter, they have their breeder ID, and every single puppy is microchipped. So we're able to use those as data signals. Similar to caravans, you have to pay for a listing to have that uploaded onto our network. So they're very unique data points, and it creates a huge audience for us. Next slide. And with all of that in mind, we have the connected driveway. We are able to marry transactional intent to one of the richest sources of auto purchase activity in Australia, unlocking so many different behavioural cross-category insights. So if I take myself as a consumer, I am a Subaru driver and I live in an apartment in Bronte. I don't even have a driveway. My car is rotting outside on the street, getting rained on, leaves on, the whole lot. It's out there. I have just bought a property in Newcastle, and I'm getting married at the end of the year. So I've never thought more about finance. I've never thought more about insurance. And I've never thought more about renovations and, of course, savings as well. So if you can imagine every single car purchase intent or brand or model that people are looking at across our network, we can make a really clear picture of who that person is and give us that unique look into their world. And to wrap up my section, the driveway is a window into their world, and you'll be able to see now through our insights that James Curtis will take you through.
Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks again for everyone joining today. It's great to have you with us. I'll be taking you through our automotive insights, but before I do that, I just thought I'll give you a snapshot in terms of the auto landscape specifically. So really the Australian automotive market is at a record high. In looking at registrations year to date, there are over 512,000 cars delivered, and that represents about a 12.2% increase versus the same time last year. I think also Australia is also one of the most competitive automotive markets in the world, with over 75 brands and hundreds of model lines to choose from. There are new brands setting up operations or launching at this moment and in future. And over the next 12 to 18 months, we're seeing a majority of those coming from China. So we've just put a few there. You may have heard of GWM, BYD and Chery, but we've got more. So Zeekr, Geely and Jack Motors, just to name a few, are going to be a few of the new entrants on the market. So that's an incredible investment from their part. It's also interesting for them because they're positioning themselves as more value for money brands with well-designed product as a significant and should be considered as an alternative to mainstream brands like Toyota, Mazda, Hyundai, etc. These cheaper new products, coupled with incentives for SMEs, as well as salary sacrifice car packaging, novated leasing, particularly on EVs, has seemed to mask any impacts of the rise of cost of living pressures for Australian households. EV is still a big topic. Recent growth in EV has been steady despite the recent government fuel efficiency standards being introduced. But what we have seen is a significant number of price reductions across many EV models, some up to $20,000 to clear either old or obsolete stock or repositioning. You can actually buy a new EV for around about $35,000 drive away. So they're more affordable than ever. But what we see from a market dynamics perspective is that it's pickups and SUV as body types that continue to dominate the sales charts. Pickups in particular, think Hilux, think Ranger, and all other brands, they really dominate the market. From a stock perspective, I think across all industries, stock was affected, particularly automotive, but now we're back to pre-COVID levels. And what we're also seeing on top of that is increased retail offer across most brands every quarter. So choice and options mean research is now more important than ever before. Each year at GCA, we commission surveys on different customer categories, working through with a research partner to enrich our own internal data. And that data we can access through industry providers. One of our big surveys is the automotive industry and consumers' past to purchase. In this section, I'm going to take you through our latest automotive insights from late 2023, so late last year. In that, we had 7,500 people, and they're an even mix of people that recently purchased, they're actively in market, or they're just owners. Everyone's heard of the messy middle. We see the average purchase length to be 11.4 weeks. That is from the moment you decide to buy the car through to the moment you actually convert. But 40% of those people paused or changed their mind about the make and model they wanted to own. 1 in 4 due to stock or new model availability, 1 in 12 due to special offers, and 1 in 16 due to a new review, editorial review of a car. Really interesting. From a purchase driver perspective, what we see from our panel is that most of these reasons are emotionally driven versus being driven by a need or business reasons. With most people wanting something newer or better, this felt like a change, or they want to tow more, go off-road. As you can see here, this is far greater than finance contracts ending, end of leases, or any motivations around end of financial year and tax benefits. And around 75% of these intenders are open to new brands and considering multiple brands or types of cars, with only 10% of people specific on the make and model that they want to buy. So think Toyota Corolla, Mazda CX-5, there's only 10% of people that actually know that. So there's a lot of opportunity to influence the purchase here. Most intenders consider both new and used options, believe it or not. They look online to classifieds to compare pricing, as well as reading independent reviews. But the majority still aren't ready to buy 100% online. So that is everything through from the inquiry, the research, right through to the deposit and taking delivery. When we look at the most influential touch points influencing your brand choice, it's the ones that index the highest are in fact the brand that you currently own. So if you own a Mazda, you're highly likely to consider another Mazda. Also independent editorial sites like Cars Guide, and then the car manufacturer or car distributor websites, particularly with the .au domain name. This is far greater than TV and radio, or even social media, where we know there's a lot of paid activity in these spaces. Now, EV, this is the hot topic. And these insights are definitely things that we are closely monitoring through our first-party data signals, as well as ongoing surveys. The main reasons people are not likely to consider an EV are actually charging and pricing concerns, so be it range or the mere price of getting into them, because typically an EV on average was up around 75,000 when we did this survey. The higher purchase price, as well as the bigger, wider issue of limited public charging infrastructure. And that could be super fast chargers or just chargers that you can charge while you're shopping, for example. On the flip side, the main reasons people are considering EV, it's because of lower fuel costs. It's because of that sustainability of EV technology and its environmental footprint, as well as the perception of less maintenance required for an EV, given that there's less mechanical parts, you don't have an engine. If we're to look just sort of in terms of what that looks like, EV is growing as a contribution. It represents about just under 9% of the total market contribution. So it is growing, but it's still not hugely significant. Petrol and diesel combined, so internal combustion, ICE, represents now for the first time just under 80%. It's in decline. And other fuel types like hybrid is significant at about 12, and plug-in hybrid about 1.2. So it's quite a small component. Interestingly, the average price that people intend to spend, or have spent in fact, on a new vehicle is around $56,000. That's a Toyota RAV4, and actually not far off the Tesla Model Y, which is now cheaper than ever. Whereas for used car intenders, it's up above 20 grand, and that's more than ever, as well as I think it's known that prices have gone up quite significantly post-COVID, and they're sort of staying at still quite a high level, declining, but still quite a high level. When you put that into perspective, 20 grand doesn't actually get you much these days in terms of a used vehicle. It equates to, let's say, a 5-year-old Mazda or Corolla, no warranty, a 12-year-old Toyota Prado, or maybe a 6-year-old Kia Sportage. So, look, there's a lot of car there, but it's an old car. And as I mentioned before, the new car market is up significantly year on year, and we expect it to be on pace to potentially achieve 1.5 million registrations this year, if the latter part of the year continues the same way it started from January to May. So you can see from these insights that how much we can see from that driveway and the garage of anyone's household to help inform us more about that household in terms of who they are and what else they may be interested. Thanks again for joining today's webinar. Now, before you go off and go looking for your new wheels, I'll introduce you to Charlie Sylvester, who will take you through the next section.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We're in a really interesting time at the moment with rising cost of living running rampant. I'm going to chat through the findings from our Consumer Finance and Spending Survey and how Australian spending habits have shifted as budgets are squeezed. Before we dive into the survey data, we just wanted to touch base on second-hand item prices. Being a marketplace, we're always keeping our finger on the pulse with price changes across all categories. The year-on-year price changes you see here are generally in line with new item price fluctuations as demand increases or decreases for both new and used. Although we've seen ups and downs across categories like the ones listed here, across the board, we've seen the gap between new and used prices shrink. We've all heard stories of people buying second-hand Hiluxes or Corollas during COVID and paying more than new ones because there was an 18 to 24-month wait on the new vehicles. Now, although these COVID supply chain issues have eased, we're still seeing that gap tighten between new and used. Similar to the auto survey, we surveyed 7,700 Australians on their purchasing behaviour, purchasing intent, and their consumer preferences, particularly around financial services space. There are a lot of interesting findings on what we're spending money on and where we're trying to save that I'll talk through in the coming slides. So to set the scene, what did the data tell us? It tells us that this economy is creating a market of switches. It's no secret that the cost of living conversation is still happening. We recently had the budget release, which has sparked more conversations about the cost of living, as you can see from having a quick browse of the news and finding these headlines here. A lot of people, 44% from our survey, have been significantly impacted by the rising cost of living. And although this conversation has been going on for some time, Australians are now starting to feel the pinch from these price rises. Makes it more important than ever for consumers and advertisers to get the most out of their investment. So what do we mean when we say the economy is creating a market of switches? Well, we asked people about their preferences around the services they're using, and 39% have switched or cancelled insurance providers in the last 12 months. Looking at the graphs here, you can see that more essential services such as insurance and loans have a higher skew to switching, particularly when talking about car and home insurance, whereas non-essential services like streaming or gym memberships have high cancellation rates, as it's a quick way to gain some extra money. I know that when all my sister's friends jumped on her Disney Plus account and I got booted out, I wasn't going to be signing up myself. Generally speaking, there is no longer any loyalty to brands, and Aussies are reaching for the cheapest canned tuna option on the shelves at Woolies and the most cost-effective insurance providers that are giving them the most value for money. The banking and finance sector is usually associated with key life moments, whether it's buying a house or car, or saving for the future. And therefore, we're seeing Aussies put in a lot of research and consideration into where they're getting their money from. People are looking to switch home loan providers in particular, with credit cards and business loans are following closely behind. The main reason for the switch include better interest rates and lower fees. The less money out of the consumer's pocket, the better. The tightening economy has forced Australians to become more savvy with their money. Not only are they switching insurance provider or cancelling their gym membership, like we saw on the previous slides, but they're going out less, buying second-hand items and working second jobs. 56% are selling unwanted second-hand items online, while 55% are checking marketplaces before they go to buy new. They're really working hard to give themselves a bit of relief from the rising cost of living and are being creative in the way they're doing this. Many looking for financial relief through credit cards and buy now, pay later services, and 53% are substantiating this with spending less on entertainment. This slide may seem like a bit of a contradiction, so stay with me, please. Our survey suggests that we are saving money in a lot of areas through switching or cancelling subscriptions and working more to be able to spend on things like new cars or phones or travel, or the things that are really important to us. Household furniture coming in at number 1, with 35% looking to purchase in the next 12 months, with a new mobile coming in at 28%. As you can see here, 2 in 3 Aussies are planning to travel domestically and 2 in 5 internationally, which are pretty huge numbers for a population that doesn't want to spend money on a palmy at the pub. Although the rising cost of living is an issue and it's hurting us all, at the end of the day, we are human, and Aussies are particularly resilient and reluctant to give in to these pressures. We've seen Aussies tick off some key life stages over the past 12 months, and many planning to do so over the next 12 months. 15% have bought pets, and another 11 plan on doing so, while 6% started uni and 7% plan on doing it. Whether they're growing their families with a child or fur baby, upskilling or getting married, they aren't letting the economy stop them from not only buying the things they want, but doing the things they want too. To wrap up, the Consumer Finance and Spending Survey, people are saving to spend on things that are important to them. People are starting side hustles, getting promotions, and switching insurance providers so that they can fund investing in their future, buying houses and doing renos. It comes back to the consumer being more savvy and sacrificing things that aren't essential or aren't as important, or substituting to more cost-effective alternatives to be able to maintain their lifestyle in other more important areas of their lives. I am going to pass it back over to KC, who's going to do a little wrap up for us and the key driveaways.
Thank you, Charlie. So the key driveaways from today, 5 key points. 1 being savvy consumers are spending time researching before they buy, researching platforms like GUMTREE, Cars Guide and Auto Trader. Loyalty is out and better deals are in. People are saving money to spend on big purchases. Education is definitely key for electric vehicles. I still think Australia has a long way to go in terms of educating our consumers about how we can actually use an electric vehicle sustainably. And lastly, the gap between new and used has never been closer. I think that's a really important one, given the fact that people think that the new item is going to be so much more expensive from the shop. Gumtree has an assortment of items that you can buy for almost the same price or less. You just need to do your research first. And if you have any questions today and feel comfortable talking to us as we do this webinar, please feel free to go off mute and ask the question, or we have a QR code over there, which you can reach out to us, ask us any kind of questions you would like, any sort of extension from the surveys and the insights that we've given today, and we'd be happy to respond to you over the next week or so. So I'm going to leave this open for a couple of minutes for some questions if you have them, but it's okay if you don't, because you might be eating your lunch right now.
We might not have any questions, but that's okay. Thank you so much for, presenting GCA. You guys were awesome. If there are any questions and you don't have a chance to scan the QR code, feel free to send them through to the team and we'll forward them on to GCA and get you in touch with them so they can answer anything. Thank you once again. You guys were great.
Thank you, team. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.